Well, as I always say, Mondays are usually the most boring days starting the week. However, if you guys are big fans of the Yoshi Japanese wrestling scene, you're always on the right channel. So today we're going to be reviewing two of the best Yoshi promotions we know. The first one is, of course, MARIGOLD with their big event, Grand Destiny, featuring, of course, three other title matches defended: the Twin Star titles, the United National, and the World title, not to mention a very special main event featuring IYO SKY versus Mayu Iwatani. And then, of course, we move on with Stardom with their latest Korakuen Hall event, Nighter 2025 in Cork in October. This one, of course, features a double main event, which is, of course, is the High Speed Championship. Waka Tsukiyama makes her first attempt for this belt against Meisera. And then finally, of course, the Goddesses of Stardom, the tag belts, will be defended. PMI 2000, members of Hate, will be defending them against, of course, members of Mi Vida Loca, which is going to be crazy. And as always, we wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere the pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we'll do it in the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got to Naki Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with MARIGOLD Grand Destiny. Alright, first review, MARIGOLD Grand Destiny at the Ryogoku Kokugikan. I pronounced that right, hopefully. This is one of their big shows out of the four of every year that happens. And of course, is a very special event. Now, our first match, we feature, of course, a very special generational match, second generation. We have Shino. Many of you know her. She is a young, talented Yoshi wrestler. Her mother is been known as Michiko Omukai, and she takes on Kizuna Tanaka. Her mother is Yumi Fakua, but her father, many of you know him as Minoru Tanaka. Many of you seen them in various promotions whatsoever. Now, of course, many of you may know this, that both their mothers were in fact tag team known as something ladies. I'm not 100% sure, and they were part of one of Rossy Ogawa's promotions in Arjen or whatever it's called, and that's how this led. And of course, Kizuna Tanaka was the one who suggested, how about you and me have a match together, even though they known each other since they were younger. And she, of course, Kizuna requested to have both their mothers as their seconds, which was very interesting and very unusual. But at the same time, I think it shows a bit of character, because the moms would love to be proud of them, and they did not hold back whatsoever. But I've often said to myself, there's always the experienced type that plays out too well. I mean, look, Kizuna Tanaka is a bit more older than Shino. Shino is still in her teens. Kizuna Tanaka is in her early 20s, and that plays out pretty well. But it was Kizuna Tanaka that picked up the win when she applied the number 6, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And of course, everybody embraced each other, both girls who known each other since they were young, and their moms as well. And of course, they even thanked Rossy Ogawa for this wonderful opportunity. Now, our next match is a very interesting one. We have a gauntlet tag team match. So there were many teams that were involved. So this is exactly, I have saved up, of course, exactly what we had. Let me pull it up real quick here. Here it is. So we begin with, of course, Minami Yuki and Nagisa Tachibana. They take on Naoya Ishikawa and Hummingbird. Now, in recent times, we have seen these two ladies have Hummingbird and Naoya Ishikawa always getting each other's faces. But however, things didn't go well until, of course, Naoya Ishikawa ended up being pinned by Minami with her move known as the Minami win, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, she was done. And then, of course, Minami and Tachibana, they face against Yuka Yamazaki and Komomo Minami. So basically, they had to keep forward. But however, Nagisa Tachibana ended up on the special Komoku clutch by Komomo, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, they were done. And then, of course, here comes their next opponents. For Yamazaki and Minami, they face against Chanyota and Yamaka Erika, Arena. And of course, you probably can tell there was going to be some interesting maneuvers coming from these two. However, it was Yamanaka that picked up the win with the Northern Lights suplex hold onto Yuka Mizaki, and just like that, it was completely over. And then, of course, Yamanaka and Chanyota face against Nagisa Nozaki and Rhea Seto. And the match ended with, of course, the Lance Nor High by Nozaki onto Yamanaka, and just like that, it was over. However, their opponent that they faced was a very unusual. We have Shoko Kushino, who is a former singer, now jumping into as wrestling. However, we had no idea who the mystery partner is, and it turned out to be, of course, Gigatan out of nowhere. No one expected it, and there was a moment where Rhea Seto was a bit shivered. But of course, you know that Nagisa Nozaki will have nothing more to do than win this match. However, it was, of course, Shoko who picked up the win with a diving body press halfway away from the ring, and she pinned Rhea Seto, and just like that, it was over. However, there's the indications coming from the commentators that maybe this will lead for these ladies to get a shot of the Twin Star Championship match after this one that took place. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting one. We have Megaton, who will be in a mystery match against someone, and out of nowhere, no one expected it turned out to be none other than Murder Grandpa himself, Minoru Suzuki. No one expected it. There were people that were concerned due to the fact that Minoru Suzuki would just kill her. Not literally, but you know what I mean, figuratively. But it was a real fun moment. Now, Megaton did humanly possible to try to fight back, but it was not enough until the craziest thing that happened is Minoru Suzuki was about to apply the Gotch style power driver, but however, in mid height, Megaton played the smart role. She allowed herself to just give up, and just like that, it was over. Some people say it was a cowardly maneuver, but however, it was a opportunity for her not to get hurt by Murder Grandpa himself. So she just did what she did, what was necessary, and walked off. And of course, Suzuki was not happy about it. Now, our next match, we have Chiga Goto facing off her own mystery opponent, and the mystery opponent turned out to be none other than the first ever MARIGOLD World Champion, Sareee. That's right, so Sareee makes her way to MARIGOLD. And of course, Chiga Goto is not happy to see her. Many of you may not remember this. Sareee had her disdain how, of course, many of the MARIGOLD roster members, how they were training before their promotion was launched, and of course, this led to a lot of criticism from both MARIGOLD roster members. And of course, Chiga Goto had to face one of the toughest yet, and I have to say, this was the best performance I've ever watched. And in the end, of course, it was a double foot stomp by Sareee onto Chiga Goto, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, this is one of 3 championship matches, the MARIGOLD Twin Star Championship, which is the tag belts. Darkness Revolution, consistent of Chiaki and Misa Matsui, faces against Magenta, Maria, and Riku Kawahara from MARIGOLD. If you guys remember, there was a war between both MARIGOLD and Marvelous. And in the end of this, of course, we did see, now many of you may know this, Chiaki, along with Nagisa Nozaki, were the second ever Twin Star champions, and they lost those belts, I believe, to Nanane Takahashi and Sareee Yamaoka. So this will, if of course Chiaki wins, they will have, in fact, get, of course, another. Chiaki will become a 2-time Twin Star Tag Team Champion. But however, this would be a very tough challenge. Remember, Magenta, they would like to play a little bit dirty, just like, of course, Darkness Revolution. But however, unsurprisingly, Misa Matsui was the one who surprised everyone when she applied the European clutch onto Maria, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new MARIGOLD Twin Star champions. Misa Matsui finally gets her first taste of gold. Many people have been hoping that happened, but it does. And that makes Chiaki, of course, a 2-time Twin Star champion. So we'll see how that rolls up. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting one, the Battle of the Hosses, or should I say a powerhouse type match. We have, coming from Sendai Girls, Shihiro Hashimoto, one half of the Sendai Girl Tag Team Champions, and the current Sendai Girls World Champion, face against Sareee Yamaoka. And of course, Meiko Satomura is watching. But I have to say, Yamaoka did put up a great performance. Not to mention, she faces with one of the toughest challenges ever. I mean, you are facing a big individual who could literally take your head off. But in the end, of course, Hashimoto was able to pick up the win when she applied a lariat, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, I believe we have the MARIGOLD United National Championship, which is also known as the White Belt. We have Victoria Yuzuki making her first attempt, and she faced against Mai Sakurai, the current champion. And I thought it was a fantastic match. I mean, not to take away from Mai Sakurai's, standing as a champion, but she really impressed everybody. Not to mention a former protege of Julia, and she's facing against a wrestler who, in fact, is determined to prove the world she's going to be the future ace of MARIGOLD, and she was not wrong, and she took every ounce hit that she can get. However, Victoria Yuzuki applied a move that only Julia knows, and I'm pretty sure Mai Sakurai knows it. She applied Bianca, which is a submission move, and just like that, she just gave up, and out of nowhere, brand new MARIGOLD United National Champion. And of course, we did see the post-match promo with Yuzuki, and not to mention, we did see Sakurai strap the belt onto Yuzuki, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our next match is the MARIGOLD World Championship, also known as the Crimson Belt. Miku Ano, as you all know, is the winner of this year's round-robin tournament. the Dreamstar Grand Prix, she faces against Utami Ayashida. Now, many people have often said that the Miku Ano has been one of the force to be reckoned with. I've been a fan of Miku Ano when she was with Atlas Girls, and of course she proved them right when she became, of course, the first ever United National Champion, and that's always been a very good thing. However, of course, she had to face the biggest and toughest challenge of them all, and that is, of course, Utami Ashida. As you all know, she is someone who you all know, many people remember her as the one who shocked the world when she defeated Mayu Iwatani. But however, this is a different circumstances. But in the end, of course, Miku Ano was able to defeat Utami Ashida by applying one of her moves, which is the hijack bomb. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new MARIGOLD World Champion. And of course, we did see a post-match promo from her. We can't wait to see what she's going to do. Personally, I would have assumed that she would have lost this match and someone would have won it at the start of the year, which I think was something we did saw. I'm not sure, but yes. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we have one more match to go review, and that is, of course, it's what they call the Dream Destiny match. We have two people who many of you know from Stardom, and of course, they've been tag partners, then rivals, and that sort of thing. We're talking about Mayu Iwatani versus IYO SKY. Now, this was a match that I'm pretty sure that many people were anticipate to see again. Now, if you guys are not familiarized with their history, let me explain a little bit to you guys. These two ladies were in fact a tag team known as Thunder Rock back in Stardom until, of course, they lost the Goddess Tag League thanks to Mayu Iwatani, who fumbled the ball, and of course IYO SKY never forgave her, and then that's when she stabbed her in the back, betraying her, and became the first leader of the first one of the earlier factions known as Queen's Quest. And that's how the whole thing ends, and of course we've been seeing those two. However, as you all know, IYO SKY and Mayu Iwatani, along with Kairi Sane, had the company on their backs known as the Threedom. But when IYO SKY and Kairi Sane left, Mayu Iwatani was the one who was holding the company Stardom on her back, and now that doesn't seem the case anymore because this is something between them. But I have to say the match was pretty good because we saw how these ladies have grown in their significance. I mean, IYO SKY world champion in both in Stardom, then of course in WWE, and Mayu Iwatani been there, all that. She's been there with the company for almost over a decade, and you all know how that turns out. But in the end, it was IYO SKY with a over the moonsault, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, during the post-match promo, Mayu Iwatani said that she feels like the ring has always been part of her life, and she always considered those who are in the ring with her are family, and that includes IYO SKY, who's been part of her history. And she said that she would love to have a match against her, a match with her as Thunder Rock, and I'm sure we will see that. And I did report it. That's something that IYO SKY is also considering. I'm sure many of us would love to see that, Thunder Rock reunite. So we'll see what happens. But I hope you guys enjoy this review. Let's move on with our last one, and that is, of course, Stardom. Okay, final review. Stardom. We have the Nighter 2025 in Korakuen October, and this is their much recent event, of course, that took place. We had a pre-show match. We have Kyoko Furuzawa and Rana Yagami teaming up to face against Emma Maishima and Momokoko. Now, of course, many factors of this match is how this is going to be, because mostly either Furuzawa or Maishima would be most likely to take the fall since they're still rookies and they're still yet to join a faction. That's something we will be paying attention as we go. But however, of course, in the end, it was Rana Yagami with a buzzsaw kick onto Maishima, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now let's jump in with our first match of the main card. We have a very interesting combination. The members of God's Eye, consistent of Yoka Kotatsu, Tomoka Inaba, and Hina. They team up with the members of Genesis with Miyu Amasaki and the returning Azumi, and of course Starlight Kid. They face against the members of Hate, consistent of Azusa Inaba, Momo Watanabe, Fukigen Death, Rina, Konami, and Saya Kamitani. So, as you all know, how Hate operates, they like to play a bit dirty in order to pick up their matches, and that's exactly. However, this is part of a preliminary match between Starlight Kid and Konami because, as you know, Konami issued a challenge for the white belt. She already faced for this belt before, but now she's aiming for it again. But of course, we did see some tactics coming from Hate, and then of course we did see a bit of tension between both Kamitani and Momo Watanabe because, as you all know, Momo Watanabe won the 5-star Grand Prix and she challenges for both the belts that Kamitani has, and that led to it. But however, Konami was able to use the belt on Starlight Kid while the referee was distracted, and then applied a buzzsaw kick, and just like that, Konami picked up the win on Starlight Kid. And of course, she had to gloat her butt off about this, about how she's going to take that belt off of her, but we'll see. However, tensions were coming high between Momo Watanabe and Kamitani, and they asked Okada, since they're going to be doing more preliminary matches, that they want this to be for real, a showdown between them, and they don't want no holdbacks. And of course, Okada had to oblige if that's what they want, so he gave that opportunity to them. Now, our next match, we have also another combination. We have the members of Mi Vida Loca, consistent of Bozilla and Suzuki, teaming up with the Cosmic Angels, consistent of Sayaka Kurara, Aya Sakura, and Natsupoi. They face the combination of EXV, Rian, and Hanako. They team up with the members of Gazai, consistent of Saki Kashima, Amisuri, and Shuri. Now, many of you may know this. Kashima is afraid of Bozilla because Bozilla, as you know, has been embarrassed by Kashima way too many times, and now she feels she's going to get a measure of payback for what just transpired in her life with her. And of course, that's always been the case. But in the end, it was, of course, Kashima with the Kishikase onto Sakurai, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, of course, Kashima, who is still afraid of Bozilla, hide behind Shuri, tried to tell her about their upcoming match, and then she tossed the towel into her, and then she ran like the coward. And then, of course, Hanako applied a promo to Sakura because, as you know, later on, by the end of this month, Hanako and Waka will defend the New Blood Tag Team belts against Aya Sakura and Sayakura, and I hope they do win them because we need to see those two win those belts. That's something I think many of us have been hoping for a long time. Now, our next match, we have a three-way match. We have Akira Kurigani versus Lady C versus Saya Ida. Now, of course, many of us would have assumed by default it would have been Saya Ida to pick up the win, since she is a powerhouse in her right, and not to mention most likely knows how to handle this type of match. But however, in the end of this match, it was Lady C that picked up the win when she gave Kurigani the big boot, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we had a very interesting tag match. We have Miku Kane teaming up with Sareee, taking on the members of the Cosmic Angels, consistent of Yuna Mizumori and Sayori Anu. I thought this was a fantastic match. Not to mention, Yuna Mizumori stood toe-to-toe to Sareee, who many people know she hits hard as hell, and she brought the very best out of herself on this one. I have to say, a fantastic match, but unfortunately it was not enough until, of course, Yuna Mizumori ended up on the Uranagi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Sareee picked up the win. And then, of course, we did see a post-match promo where Kane was talking about Tag League. I'm not sure, because as you know, we're only 1 month away to start up the latest Goddess Tag League event that will happen. So I'm sure that's something that's been discussed, and I can't wait to see it. However, of course, Natsupoi showed up. As you all know, Natsupoi and Sareee are good friends, but however, Sareee is demanding to see the real wrestling side of her. I don't know what she meant by that, but she wants to see the much harder and aggressive side of her. We've seen Sareee how she acts, but I'm sure that's something we definitely could see. Now, our next match, which is our double main event, and this is the one of 2 title matches. The High Speed Championship Mei Sita defends it against Waka Tsukiyama. Now, Waka has been, of course, aiming for this belt for quite some time, and there were people that believe that she should aim for this one. And she does have the high-speed quality. Before it became what she is now, they did a high-speed test, and she kind of failed a little bit miserably. But, however, of course, she has to be more careful with Waka, with, of course, her hip attacks and all that. But in the end, of course, Mei Sita was able to pick up the win when she applied checkmate, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And then we did see a bit of a post-match promo. I would have assumed someone would step up like Yuna Mizumori, but I'm sure Yuna Mizumori feels that she's not ready for it. But hopefully she will, and I can't wait to see her getting her first championship belt. Now, our main event, this is for the Goddesses of Stardom, which is the tag belts. They face, we have Mi Vida Loca, consistent of Itsuki Aoki and Rina Yamashita, taking on BMI 2000, Natsuko Tora, and Raka, members of Hate. Now, as you all know, when BMI 2000 won these belts against Wingori, Aoki and Yamashita put themselves on the hat to pick up to challenge it, and that's exactly what happened. But of course, when it comes to Hate, they believe you should have just not get involved, and that's exactly. And we saw the usual tactics, the mist on Aoki by Natsuko Tora. FN Rina pulled the referee off of when Aoki was willing to pick up the win. Then we see another dirty trick coming from Natsuko Tora when she used a black box onto her, and then the Swanton bomb onto Aoki, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Natsuko Tora picked up the win, retaining the championship. But however, in the post-match, I don't know what Aoki Ozuki said, but it seems like Hate were a bit like, what the hell is wrong with her? Like, it didn't even break her, like losing. But yeah, and then of course Natsuko Tora and Raka are demanding if anybody's going to challenge them, and of course no one did, because as you probably know, we are expected Goddesses Tag League taking place soon, so we'll pay attention to that once it starts. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's get started with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events. Chicago-based promotion AAW has announced for their upcoming event known as Smoke Show that takes place on the 22nd of November. They announced that the AAW women's title will be on the line. The current champion, Ciara, will defend it against someone many of you know, Scarlett Bordeaux. Killer Cross's wife will be in fact involved. So yes, so this is going to be the first first independent show since being released, and this is going to be awesome. And then of course we had Jersey Championship Wrestling with the house for the holidays that takes place on the 23rd. We have the JCW World title on the line in a rematch. Billy Starks will defend it against Charles Mason, which is going to be interesting. And then of course finally AEW has announced New Year's Smash. Excuse me. That will take place on the 31st of December in Omaha, Nebraska. So mark your calendars on that. So that's pretty much it what we have for our upcoming events. Let's talk about some developments here. Fightful Select reports that Steve Maclin, as you know, who is the current TNA International Champion, well, it just revealed that his contract with TNA will be up by the end of this year. However, it's still no indications if he will stay with the company or move on. We haven't heard anything yet, and I'm not sure if TNA has any interest of keeping him. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Many of you remember I mentioned about a referee who Rossy Ogawa knows, Katsumi Sasazaki. Apparently he had his funeral, and it was later revealed by Tokyo Sports that they had many attendants, such as the Great Sasuke, Masato Tanaka, and Mirai, and many more. It's still unclear who else attended, but it's great to hear that famous wrestlers that we know in Japan pay their respects to a referee who they know and may have worked with in the past. Rossy Ogawa, of course, mentioned that was asked if there was any indication about Sareee still competing in MARIGOLD, and he said that yes, they were willing to allow her to compete. I mean, remember, guys, Sareee is a freelancer, so that means she can go wherever she wants. Now, finally, Brett Lauderdale, many of you know him as the owner of GCW, spoke about Nick Gage. Apparently, Nick Gage is out due to, of course, having treatment from injuries that he obtained, and this is the statement he put out on his X account. Nick Gage will not be attending any shows for the foreseeable future. He is currently in treatment and plans to stay indefinitely. He followed up with a second post. Any promoters would have made a deposit for shows will be made whole as soon as possible. Expect an updated directory from the man himself when the time's right. For those who may not be aware, Nick Gage has been challenging year personally, with several things happening, with the loss tragic being suddenly of the passing of his partner slash wife of 26 years, Sandra Kulturson. Here at the 434, send well wishes to positive thoughts to Nick Gage and has worked to get better. MDK all effing way. So yes, so Nick Gage is dealing with is trying to get treatment and all of that. And now for our last development here on our news update. Well, this one I have to say is the most touching one and real thing I've ever seen. Many of you know this. Almost a year ago, Chris Bey was injured, and there was the indication that he could never walk again. Now we've been seeing process of that for a while, for quite some time. However, the one person who had to witness what he had to go through was his girlfriend, Brittany Brooks. And I have to say, I commend her for being by his side. I'm sure many people would have told her to leave him because, you can't just spend your entire life helping him. But I have to say, this is what she had to say. And please, this is what she said. So stay with me, boys and girls. 1 year ago at today, our lives changed forever when Chris Bey suffered a severe spinal cord injury, broken neck during a match. By far the worst day of my life, hearing the news, being so unsure about what's going on. Thanks to TNA and their quick reaction time, I was able to make it to the hospital in Detroit literally about 12 hours after the injury happened. Despite living across the country in Arizona at the time, being by Chris's side and make sure he knew he wasn't alone and was the most important thing to me. Between getting the news that he probably will never walk again and trying my best to be strong for him, the following 2 months of traveling back and forth to visit him in the hospital and still tend my knee, which I was rehabbing from an ACL tear, was very difficult. Ouch, yeah. Every day them coming in and telling him to move his toes on Anu just not being able to was hard to see. When you love someone, it's heartbreaking to see them so much pain and uncertainty, but still he persisted of defying every single thing that they told him he wouldn't be able to do. By the time he was discharged in December, he was able to move his legs. By our second week of being home in Las Vegas, he was out of the wheelchair, able to walk with walker, and 2 weeks later was on crutches, and 2 weeks after was walking with no assistance. Chris is one of the strongest wheeled and physical strongest persons I've ever met. To add on to that, when you go through a spinal cord injury, it's such more than not being able to walk. His first week in the hospital, he couldn't even move his arm, couldn't hold his phone, couldn't feed himself, let alone intentionally digest the food. So many of his body systems are changing forever. I will never understand the pain he went through and continue to go through daily, but his drive and dedication inspires me daily to constantly be better. I'm honored to be by his side and be able to call him mine. I love you so much, Chris Bey, and proud is an understatement. This is the greatest story ever told, and I'm happy to be part of every chapter. I have to say, I give Brittany Brooks hands down the gold star for this one because A, she stood by her man. Like I said, many people would have told her, you don't have to spend your time with them. And I'm sure deep down she feels she had to because he was alone. He had no one. You got to remember, a spinal cord injury, they tell you that it's not okay to move them from wherever they have to go. But I'm glad she stood there by him. I'm glad that she was there for every moment that he needed. You know, when he started walking, when he started eating, started moving around. And I give Brittany Brooks the props that she deserves. So awesome. So yeah. So I think that's pretty much it what we have. So let's just call it a day. Okay, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming out. Since we're heading on a Tuesday, we will have, of course, the latest NXT. Before I proceed to end this episode, I want to give you guys a reminder. The next 2 days, which is Tuesday the 28th of October and the 29th, is going to be a little difficult because I may have to reduce to either 1 or 2 reviews for the next 2 days due to the fact that I'm going back to my regular day job, which is going to be a murder. But however, I'm determined to get things done and we'll go from there. But as of right now, that's all I'm going to give you guys. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.